All right, and we're back again with another nanoeconomics quick vocabulary walkthrough explanation. And this time I wanted to kind of simplify one of the concepts that's relatively easy to get as far as, what I've seen with students in both like a high school classroom setting as well as college students. Um, And this one specifically becomes a lot easier when you can do that word association that we've been working on with the other key concepts so far. So with diminishing marginal utility, the first thing I've done here is given you an easier way of understanding this vocabulary in ways that you might already kind of speak a little bit. So diminishing is just decreasing, getting smaller. That's usually not the hang up. Marginal, on the other hand, you're going to see that a lot in economics, and you can pretty much always substitute that for additional in your head. When you see the word marginal, it's the next additional thing. So the total distance of a marathon is 26.2 miles. The marginal distance is the length of your stride, for example. And so that's kind of the way you can think of marginal as additional. Another way of thinking of it is like your grade in class might be the average of all your scores, but the most recent score will be the marginal score that you've turned in. And if the marginal is above your average, then it's going to pull your average up. In other words, if you put in, if you turned in an assignment that was a better grade than previous assignments and your average should be pulled up by that. So that leads us to a phrase that I kind of commonly will repeat for students and get them used to kind of understanding it. It actually comes around in math classes as well, but the average follows the marginal. So the average is going to follow the marginal um, scores. In your average grade is going to follow the marginal up if your most recent score was higher, down if your most recent score was lower. And in that example of kind of running a marathon, if your stride is getting shorter and shorter over time, those marginal strides being shorter is going to decrease your average stride throughout the course of the entire marathon. And then the third term that you see there, utility, can be seen as benefit. In a lot of ways, in a lot of contexts, it is really gathering the satisfaction or the happiness that you might get from that purchase. But it's going to be true as well in the case of like going to a dentist or something that maybe you don't enjoy, but you know that you're getting a benefit out of that activity. And so utility can sometimes be a challenging concept, but it also sometimes is a concept that students have been exposed to in other classes. So we can kind of talk more about that, and as specific questions come in, I kind of see those and can address those as well. So now what we're looking at here is just a little kind of margarita pizza um, and a graph that kind of represents how we would illustrate diminishing marginal utility. And so the way that we kind of think about this in terms of pizza is along, I gotta be in the right window, along this axis here, you've got slices of pizza. Imagine kind of a number of slices of pizza that you're going to eat. And on this axis, up to 1.0, let's imagine, is 100% satisfied and full. So if you kind of think about that first slice of pizza, it's still one slice of pizza. Each of these are equal distance. But the height of this line is much, much longer than either of these two. And the reason is very, very much like what you would experience when you're eating pizza. So if you think of this as really happy, and then somewhere in the middle, we're kind of the second slice, we're just kind of, we're still enjoying it, but it's not quite as exciting to finally be eating pizza. And then that third slice, it looks so good, it smells good. We don't really need it, but we wanted it, but it didn't necessarily increase our total satisfaction by as great a percentage as maybe that first slice. So I kind of want to just use simple, basic ways of looking at this, especially, and just see kind of what kind of foundational understanding we can build up just with common things that everyone can relate to a degree. So, pizza, whatever, like if you're really, really hungry and you've earned your favorite meal, you've worked really hard, you want your favorite drink to wind down, whatever that that thing that you get excited about in terms of, usually food and beverage is kind of the easiest way to imagine. So in case pizza is not your thing, just you can kind of think of some other item that maybe you treat the same way we're talking about pizza here. And if you're completely unsure, feel free to reach out, because I've come up with a lot of examples in the past, but it's usually very specific to a specific student's region or something like that. So after you've been waiting all day, you're very hungry. Your favorite pizza place, you got there after a long drive, and you're sitting down. That first slice of pizza is so you know, perfect for what you were going after, and so that represents, like in that diminishing marginal utility graph in the earlier, we've got like 75% of our happiness coming from slice number one. And then as we continue on eating, um, so we're very happy here. We have one more slice, and then that third slice, we really could have been fine completely without it. And so it's that ultimate kind of first world problem type of scenario where it might be our favorite pizza, but it's very, very possible to have a little too much and end up being like kind of miserable for the next couple hours after you eat your favorite pizza. And that's the essentially that is the concept of diminishing marginal utility in a nutshell, and the way that we wanted to kind of focus on it being um, a kind of larger bit of vocabulary. Sometimes it'll be the law of diminishing marginal utility that we're talking about. But over time, the same satisfaction can't be provided by the same activity. Um, it's rare that you watch the same movie 100 times and you're laughing as hard the 100th time as you did the first. Maybe there are some, but in most cases, we're looking at diminishing additional benefit when we watch our favorite movie. So that's really it. I want to keep these focused on one bit of vocabulary and one topic per day for now. I've got quite a few students who are starting up at the university near me, so I'm probably going to, starting next week, go a little bit longer and do a quick vocabulary summary so that we can kind of clip a video and save that for kind of a future easy to access and search pool. And then maybe go a little bit longer and just talk about the content that I see being discussed during that week of the major American university that's near me. So thank you again for checking it out. And if you have questions in the future, anytime, feel free to email me at nanoeconomicstv@gmail.com, or just send me a message on the suggestion box on my Twitch page or here in the chat anytime I'm live. So have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.